12 minutes. That's all that stands between a floating crime scene and a vanished ghost. The Coast Guard team has one option: commit to a high-risk boarding before the smugglers flood the hull. No retakes, no rescue if it goes wrong. In this video, we'll show how tension works when time, danger, and constrained choices collide. The same kind of pressure you feel in a raptor-filled kitchen or a bus rigged to blow, but for real-world stakes. And the tiny detail they spot on approach? It's the difference between securing evidence and losing it forever. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. The clock started the second that thin wake from a periscope mark brushed the surface, because everything that makes an LPV hard to find also makes it easy to erase. A low-profile vessel rides barely above the waterline, semi-submerged and running quiet at 6 to 10 knots, so its best tell is a smear of exhaust and that faint track. Once the crew knows they're burned, that tell begins to vanish. The team knows they have less than 12 minutes before the ocean swallows both the boat and the case. This hull is built for disappearance. The freeboard is inches, not feet. Compartments sit low and connect to ballast and bilge spaces that can take on water fast. The superstructure is minimal, the engine box sealed tight, and the profile keeps radar returns small. It's not meant to outrun a cutter. It's meant to fall below the horizon and stay there. The design pairs speed enough to hold 6 to 10 knots with the ability to flood, dump cargo, and sink into ambiguity before law enforcement can stabilize the scene. So the choice lands hard. Board now in heavy swell or shadow and watch the evidence go dark. In chop, the RHIB slams. The latter skates on a soaked, low freeboard hull. If they misjudge the approach, they could throw a man into a prop wash. If they wait, the smugglers can make the vessel a steel coffin and a disappearing vault without ever flashing a weapon. The scuttling playbook is simple and fast. Quick flood valves sit where a hand can reach them. Seawater intake levers open to feed ballast and bilge. Comms gear can burn out with chemical self-destructs that leave only dead plastic. Cargo rides in jettisonable bladders that slip free, sink, or drift, depending on ballast trim and how they set the release. The valves don't need finesse. They need seconds. Why 12 minutes? Diesel exhaust has a signature that lingers, but the plume thins quickly as the wind shifts. Thermal contrast off the engine box cools as RPMs drop or power is cut. Bilge and ballast fill at rates tuned to overwhelm buoyancy in minutes, not hours, and hull rigidity holds long enough to reach neutral buoyancy before structure fails. Once the payload clears the deck and slides below, bricks become unrecoverable at depth in short order. The time it takes to spool a dive team and mark a datum outpaces sinking and drift. Think of the pressure from film, but tighter. In speed, the bus can't slow. In the Raptor kitchen, movement equals detection. Here, threat is constant, space is tight, and every second narrows options. Wait, and the window closes. Act, and you wrestle steel in motion with no second chance. Operational constraints stack up. RHIBs have to approach on clean water to minimize prop wash and avoid slamming into the target's quarter. The latter must land where the deck gives purchase, not a slick curve. Rules of engagement stay strict because no one knows what waits under the hatch. The team assigns eyes on hands, not faces. Reach to a lever matters more than a shouted warning. A past interdiction proved the margin. A crew opened sea valves in under 3 minutes after detection and took the load down with them. That single loss tightened current timelines and changed how fast a boarding package moves once the wake appears. The mechanical truth is blunt. This boat can flood to neutral buoyancy faster than any trailing cutter can spin up a dive team. That's why the window is razor thin. And then the coxswain spots one detail that kills the idea of shadowing and triggers immediate boarding. What tipped the call wasn't loud. It was a hair-thin clue on the waterline that said the countdown had started. 2 RHIBs slid into position off the starboard quarter, throttles breathing, bows feathering through 2-foot chop. NVGs came up, green grain washing the hull. Thermal imaging painted a block of heat off the engine box, a steady bloom that told the team the diesel still had life in it. The coxswain kept them offset to keep clear water for the ladder, props neutral, hands on the rails. Every second they held station, the hull rolled under them and threatened to throw timing off by a half beat. The threat didn't need a muzzle flash. The crew inside only had to reach for a disguised lever, something dressed as a vent or an innocuous handle, and the whole boat could turn into a sealed tomb for people and cargo. No warning, no standoff. Once the valves opened, the case would sink itself, and anyone trying to prove it existed would be staring at an empty surface. Then the anomaly surfaced, a narrow sheen strung along the waterline, and a short plume of water that read warmer on thermal. It's small, out of place, and it lines up with an auxiliary discharge. That discharge links to a flood manifold. When it runs, water is moving where it shouldn't unless someone intends it. On a hull that low, any extra discharge is a message. The boarding officer read it as intent, not accident. Intel stacked in the same direction. Minutes earlier, SIGINT logged a burst transmission, the kind crews throw out before they start a terminal action. The forward deck cam caught a crewman barefoot, sliding along the narrow margin of deck toward the bow. Operators treat bare feet as a tell. You don't slip on wet metal when you've got to reach a valve fast. He wasn't sightseeing. He was closing distance to access. A fresh problem showed itself at the hatch. A thin line ran through a fairlead to the coaming. One yank and the hatch could slam, dogs could turn, and any forced entry would burn through minutes the team didn't own. If that door sealed while the manifold opened, the board would shift from hard to nearly impossible without risking lives. The coxswain called the roll, and the boarding officer made the math tight. He had to place a ladder where it wouldn't skate or kick into the prop arc. He needed one operator dedicated to the hatch line, one to the helm to cut the engine alive on thermal, and one to the flood manifold panel. Each move had a failure cost measured in seconds that would not come back. The chop added random hits to timing, so the climb had to land on the up roll and lock on the down. Commit. The first operator took the hatch line clean, cut and controlled so the door stayed ajar and useless as a barrier. The second went straight to the helm and hit the engine kill, dropping the diesel to silence and freezing maneuver. With the hull stabilized and the evidence still on board, the team had bought more than time. They'd preserved the truth that would have vanished in a minute and a half, and that leads straight into the cargo and comms trail that the smugglers were seconds from erasing.